Hey cats, what's happening? It is another fine November day. About coming up on the middle of November, and I mean, just a gorgeous day all the way around. Blue skies. It's windy though. Windy, and it's a little chilly, but fine for riding. Fine day for a ride. I got some leaves ground up yesterday in the yard, but you see there's still more. They keep falling. Most of them are gone though off of most of the trees. There's just a couple trees that are still hanging on. But come on in the man cave. Nice and warm in here. You know, today I thought I'd talk about or ask the question, really, why is Harley Davidson the king of the hill? Well, I know some of you right away are going to throw up your guard and oh, wait a minute, Itchy. Actually, I've always felt that Harleys, whether or not they match up mechanically or, you know, whatever, to any other bike on the market, they've always kind of been, in my mind, at the top of the hill. The bike of the bikes. You know, a lot of bikers, their goal is, one day I'm going to own a Harley. Why is that? You know, well, Harley Davidson was one of the first motorcycles manufactured in the USA. So I don't have my notes here, so I don't know offhand what the other one, I can't remember what the other one, I think Indian was one of the other ones, but I think there was another one too, but I can't remember. That were manufactured in the USA. And then it became very popular with the American bikers to ride the Harley Davidson. In fact, a lot of the old school, very first motorcycle clubs, you had to have a Harley. You had to ride a Harley to be in the club. It didn't matter if you had a Sportster or what, or even a handmade one with a Harley engine on it. You had to have a Harley. What is it that's unique about Harleys, though? You know, well, the style is unique. I know there's other manufacturers that have tried really hard to emulate or make their bikes look like Harleys, and even try to make them sound like a Harley, but it just doesn't happen. You can't match the sound of this V-twin. Now, this Evo, it's called an Evolution motor, but we call them an Evo for short. The V-twin, it's one of the more standard models, modern models, the Evo Evolution engine, and it's been proven to be a really strong runner, a long runner, a really good motor. But it's got a sound like no other. And there's a roar to a Harley that you can hear for miles away. I got a brother that he's a doctor, and he hates the sound of a Harley. He hears those Harleys rolling by his place, and his hair bristles up on the back of his neck. He can't stand that sound. I don't know, when I go down the road on my Harley, it makes quite a bit of noise. It's got a heck of a rumble to it. I've got these Vance and Hines shotguns on there, and yeah, you got a nice throaty sound to that motor. I don't really consider that I'm aggravating anybody or being inconsiderate. Maybe I am, you know, I mean, if I go through town, I don't sit there and rev my engine up, but it still makes a lot of noise even if I have to accelerate from a stop or something. But, you know, I don't know, is that inconsiderate to have loud pipes and run through the neighborhood? Now, here I live out in the country, and it's, you know, a good 600 feet down to the road, and it's all forested in the front there, so you can't even see the road from here. But you can hear traffic going by, and you can hear the motorcycles going by. One of the things I always I guess it's just in my nature of my love for motorcycles. I always listen and I think, okay, that sounds like a a Sportster, you know, or yeah, that sounds like a Road King or a Cruiser, and I could tell if it's a Harley. Can never tell if it's a Honda because you can't hear those. The crotch rockets, the sport bikes, yeah, you hear them, and some of these guys go down our road, and I swear I'm going to hear all of a sudden dead silence when they crash because their sport bikes got to be going close to 100 miles an hour. I mean, you just hear them screaming through the gears and tearing off down the road. And I guess you get away with that out here in the country. Very rarely do we see police out here, unless they're called for a purpose, a specific reason. We know where they're going to sit for radar, and there's only maybe one spot I know of where they sit and do radar. So everybody that lives around here knows where that spot is. So of course you just go the speed limit when you go through there, but the rest of the time you can do some honking. Anyway, so much for that. You know, the Harleys do have a unique sound, and I don't know. To me, from everything I've experienced, I've seen people kind of adore the Harley. It's kind of a thing of American heritage, you know. I mean, when you think of Harley Davidsons, you think of American made. Now I know, again, you're going to argue with me. No, wait a minute, some of those parts are made in China. Probably, and that, but overall, it's an American bike. You know, Honda. That's a Japanese bike. Harley Davidson. It's not Harley Davidson. It's Harley Davidson. So, anyway, I think that's what puts it at the top of the hill. I mean, I'm very, very happy with my Fat Boy. It's a 1999. The thing's almost a vintage bike by now, but it still runs like it, you know, like an unleashed pony. I mean, it goes down the road and it just purrs like a kitten. It runs great. I have had no serious issues with it in all the time. I mean, I've done maintenance on it. I've had to do a couple little things on it. I told you before I had to change out the starter on it, and you know, little things like that. But other than that, the thing's been really good to me. Now my bike is, I wouldn't call it a custom Harley, but there's hardly anything on here aside from the engine and the frame that's original. Because when I wrecked it back in the year 2000, 21 years ago, I wrecked it, and everything was replaced on it. So the gas tank was replaced with a larger tank. The handlebars had to be replaced. The console, the fenders, the forks, the lights, the exhaust. Yeah, everything on it was replaced. It was just stripped down and replaced. It was an insurance job, so it didn't cost me a nickel. I even got this cool paint job on it that, you know, it looks like a copper, or yeah, it kind of looks like a copper color here. And you get in the sunlight, though, it changes color. Right now in the garage with the fluorescent lights, it's just going to have that copper glow to it. But out in the sunshine, it can look golden. It can have some tones of deep dark red in it. So it's kind of a pretty color. They called it a Harlequin paint. You know, in other words, it changes color in the sunlight. But I really like the paint job on it. Well, that's my story for today. Why I think Harley is at the top of the hill. I mean, there's some other nice bikes out there, and I'm not bad-mouthing any other bike. I know there's some out there that are probably far more dependable than a Harley Davidson. That you can really put a lot more miles on them before they're going to need heavy maintenance. And different bikes are made for different purposes, you know. depending on what your style is or what your ride is, maybe a Harley isn't your fit, you know. If you're a sport bike rider, Harley doesn't make a good sport bike, no. I always said that when I make $1 million, well, I'm gonna need more than $1 million. But I told V, I says, I'm gonna have a underground garage with like 20 parking spaces in there. And I'm gonna have my old fat boy, but I'm gonna have one of each of something else too, you know. I mean, I like some of the other models too. I've seen some pretty nice Yamahas that I wouldn't mind taking a spin on, you know, just a nice, comfortable street runner, you know, I guess I would call them. They're made for agility, and they're fast, they're quick, and they're just a nice, comfortable little bike. But I'm still loyal to the Harley, nonetheless. But yeah, if I had my 20-car garage, I would not only have, you know, my 66 GTO and maybe a few other collector cars that are some of my favorites, but I would also have some of my favorite motorcycles lined up in there too. I'd be a Jay Leno, how about that? He's got quite a collection. All right, cats, well, that's my story for today. Thanks for joining me. Hit the like button, blink, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, cats, ride hard and die free.